Welcome to Teolumen Insights, where we reveal the hidden forces that shape the way you live and show you how to use them to create real transformation and supercharge your health, mindset, and daily life. Here are your hosts, Emma Greenwood and Nathan Sinclair.
Welcome to Teolumen Insights, listeners. I'm Nathan Sinclair.
And I'm Emma Greenwood.
And today, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the most remarkable concepts in science fiction. And I'm really excited about this one. We're talking about the BIOSHIPS from Anne McCaffrey's The Ship Who Sang. Imagine like a human consciousness, but not just piloting a starship, but actually being the starship.
It's like, whoa.
It really is. It's where biology and engineering kind of merge into this seamless whole. And for all of you listening, we're going to unpack every single detail of this concept. We're going to explore the technology, the ethics, all the questions that come up when you have a human mind literally encased in a titanium starship hull. And we're going to follow the whole story of Helva.
The whole journey, start to finish.
From the very beginning. So let's get right into it. Helva, she doesn't start out as a starship, right? I mean, her story begins with a pretty radical premise. You have this human brain, and it's deemed unsuitable for a normal life, in a body. But instead of, something else happening, it's actually nurtured, and it's integrated into the hull of a starship.
Like they're giving her a second chance, but not just any second chance. I mean, to be a starship, it's wild.
Right.
You've got to think about that. Like this is a whole different way of experiencing existence.
Yeah, a whole different way of being. And the education she gets is incredible. I mean, they don't just teach her how to fly the ship.
Oh, no. This is like a masterclass in everything a starship would ever need to know.
I mean, it's everything from the physics of space travel, like trajectory, propulsion.
And even, alien psychology, how to understand, the cultures, the languages, the laws of other worlds, all of that. All of that is packed into her education.
Years of this intensive training, shaping her, preparing her.
And it's not just surface level stuff. It's like they program this knowledge deep down into her subconscious.
Like osmosis. She just absorbs it.
Right, exactly. And that's really important for you, the listener, to grasp. Because it's not just programming. She's not just a computer running a set of instructions. She's internalizing this information. She's making it a part of herself.
She really becomes the ship.
Exactly.
And here's where it gets even more interesting. So beyond all of that, the technical training, the operational stuff, Helva discovers this passion for music.
For singing, yeah. It's almost like this hidden talent emerges.
And she's incredible. I mean, she can sing anything. She has access to this massive library, from the laboratory. Yeah. But she can just pull up any piece of music and perform it.
Any role, any song. And her recordings, they don't describe her voice as being bad or anything. They say it's different. It's unique.
Yeah, like it's hers.
Oh.
Yeah. And she doesn't even, it doesn't even occur to her that it might be weird for her to sing in all these different vocal ranges.
She's just focused on the music, on the technique, like hitting the right notes, controlling her diaphragm.
So we're introduced to the bronze. Eight Scout candidates.
The best of the best, top scholars, rigorously trained. They're the ones who could potentially become partners with a ship like Helva.
I mean, they've been through the ringer. They have to be at the top of their game.
Yeah.
And they arrive and try to sing this this scout ditty.
It doesn't go so well. It's a little underwhelming, like they're not really into it.
Yeah. And that's when Helva kind of surprises everyone. She's like, hey, I can sing tenor.
Just casually. Can you imagine that?
I mean, the silence after she hits this high A, is deafening.
Because it's not just a good voice. It's like perfect pitch, perfect control.
I mean, you've got these brilliant minds, these top achievers, and they're just stunned by this starship who can sing like an angel.
Right. It's such a human thing, singing.
Yeah.
And it really shows how much more there is to Helva than just being a machine.
Right. And then there's Jenin. He's the one who really makes a connection with Helva. And it's a subtle thing, but it's really important. He's the only one who actually addresses his remarks.
Yeah.
Even a simple bow to the central control pillar.
He's acknowledging her, her presence within the ship.
Yeah.
And it's so significant because, it shows that he sees her as more than just a machine.
Right.
He sees her as a being.
And from that moment on, Helva always speaks to him through that central microphone.
Yeah.
Like it's her way of acknowledging him back. And the story tells us that she doesn't even realize she's falling in love with him that very evening.
You know, it just goes to show that these emotional connections can form in the most unexpected ways, and even across these boundaries of technology and biology.
Right. It's a really beautiful thing. And shortly after that, Jenin, he moves aboard. They receive their first joint commission, which is to deliver this vaccine to Spica. It's an urgent mission.
Right.
And his files, all his personal information, his experiences, it's all integrated into Helva's systems.
So they're literally becoming one unit.
Right.
You know, his personality, his memories are now a part of her database.
Right. And the mission itself, it's kind of a long haul.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just kind of, space travel, which for a starship,
Well, not very exciting.
it gives them time to kind of explore each other's personalities.
The bond.
To bond. And Helva is so eager to learn about Jenin, not just the data, but the human side of him, like what makes him tick.
Yeah, the stuff that you can't find in a file. And we see this in their interactions, like the playful banter they have.
Yeah, he nicknames her Brunehild, immolated in titanium.
Right. It's kind of a funny image, this powerful figure from mythology trapped inside this metal shell.
Yeah. And Helva, she just takes it in stride. They have this rapport that develops. And when they reach their destination, when they make contact with Spica, Helva, in true Helva fashion, she breaks into song.
Like a celebratory aria.
Exactly.
Just a little something to mark the occasion.
It's classic Helva.
It really is.
And that actually leads us to the title of the story, The Ship Who Sang.
Which is so perfect, right? I mean, it captures her essence.
It comes from this comment that Jenin makes. He gets into a bar fight, gets a black eye, and he says Helva's singing was more noteworthy than his black eye.
Right, but think about it, listeners. That title, it starts out kind of, almost whimsical.
Yeah.
But then after they have this encounter with a narcotic ring, and they take it down, not in a traditional way, but in a very effective way, the title takes on this new meaning.
Like a badge of honor.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Central Command, they definitely noticed. They flagged their file, special interest.
They're like, okay, this partnership, this is something different.
Yeah. And Jenin and Helva, they know they're good.
They're a first-rate team.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
And as they go on more missions, we learn more about Jenin. Like we find out that he has this really strong aversion to drug addiction.
And it stems from a personal experience, which really adds another layer to his character. It's not just about following the rules. It's about helping people avoid this pain that he's seen firsthand.
Right. And through Jenin's files, Helva gains this deep understanding of, his connection to his father. They were very close.
Yeah.
And in a really poignant moment, Jenin reminds Helva that, even though she has all this knowledge and these incredible capabilities, she still has an underdeveloped human heart.
It's such a tender moment, because he's acknowledging her sentience, her ability to feel, but he's also recognizing that there are these fundamental differences between her artificial existence and human experience.
And they share this dream, of exploring the nebula. But that's put on hold when they get this urgent mission to the Ravel system.
Right, where the sun's gone unstable.
Yeah, it's becoming really dangerous. And they're tasked with evacuating 2 planets, Daphnis and Chloe, that are, in imminent danger.
Right. They've got to get everyone out before it's too late.
And their assignment is to focus on these outlying areas of Chloe, and they run into this problem. They have to convince the matriarch, this very traditional leader, and the colonist that they're in danger.
Which is, a common issue in disaster situations.
Yeah, people don't always believe what they don't want to believe.
It's hard to let go of your home,
Yeah.
especially when you put down roots.
And the evacuation, it gets really chaotic. Helva's warning them, but they hesitate. And at the airlock, Jenin, he makes this split-second decision. He starts giving out spare spacesuits to people who can't fit on the ship.
It's risky, because they're already pushing their limits, but it's also incredibly selfless.
Yeah. It's heroic. And Helva's internal assessment is grim.
Oh, yeah. They're barely going to make their rendezvous.
Yeah. The whole Ravel mission is just this harrowing experience,
Right.
and it really shows you the dangers of their work.
Yeah. It's a stark reminder that even with advanced technology, space travel is still fraught with peril.
Yeah. After Revel, Helva receives orders to go to Regulus base, and they tell her she's getting a new brawn. And for Helva, this is really hard to process.
Oh, yeah. Because she's still reeling from the near disaster and she wants time to grieve, you know.
Yeah, she needs to mourn Jenin.
Right.
And she's not ready for a replacement. And another ship, 422, kind of chimes in and says, well, no mission's impossible. You'll get a new brawn. That's what you need.
Which is kind of a cold, detached perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's very utilitarian, like just focus on the mission. Emotions don't matter.
But for Helva, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
And then Theoda arrives, and Helva is cold to her.
Oh, yeah. She's not ready to open up to someone new. She knows that no one can truly replace Jenin.
Yeah. And their new mission takes them to Medea, which is, it's a planet that's been ravaged by this spore disease. And this triggers all these memories in Helva, from her database.
Like 7 other outbreaks, all with similar patterns.
And Theoda, she's really good. She approaches the situation with this practicality, but also this empathy.
Yeah, she gives Helva this communication button, so they can talk directly. It's like, I want to understand, I want to help.
Yeah. And then there's Onro.
Oh, Henri.
He bursts in, he's a med officer, and all he wants is coffee.
Right, desperate for coffee.
It's this really jarring contrast to Theoda's more, reserved personality.
Right, and it's really interesting, because his need for coffee, it's like this very human need for comfort in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
And then we find out his story, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. His son's been infected with the spore disease, and he's looking for anything that can give him a little bit of peace.
And Theoda, she shows so much compassion.
Yeah.
She interacts with his son so gently, even though he's sick. It's a small gesture, but it means so much.
Right. And Helva, she's observing all of this, and you can tell she's starting to understand these human emotions more and more.
Yeah, it's like she's learning about empathy firsthand.
And as more people arrive, Onro gets really protective. But Helva, she signals that the mission's complete, and she allows herself this brief moment of mourning for Jenin before they have to lift off.
It's like she's compartmentalizing her grief,
Yeah.
because she has a job to do.
Exactly. Now we move into a different phase of Helva's journey.
The Ship Who Killed. It's a darker title. It hints at some more complex missions ahead. And we meet Kira.
Right. But first, there's Ilsa, another ship, and she's curious about Helva's mission. It's like there's this undercurrent of something unusual happening.
Like something's off.
Yeah. And then Kira arrives, and she's the complete opposite of Jenin.
Night and day.
Where he was warm, she's more detached.
But she does show an interest in music, which Helva picks up on. But Helva's still really guarded, about her memories of Jenin.
Yeah. And their mission, it turns out to be a stork run for the RCA.
The Race Conservation Agency.
Yeah, they're transporting these fertilized ova.
I think a galactic sperm bank, making sure that there's genetic diversity throughout the galaxy.
And we learned that, while a lot of people are conceived this way, Helva herself was a natural birth.
Which adds this personal layer to the mission for her.
Yeah. And during the run, they come across all these planets that Helva's forbidden to visit because of Kira's, let's just say her proselytizing activities.
Yeah, she gets a little preachy.
And this puts a real restriction on their journey.
Right, because it highlights this potential clash between a Braun's personal agenda and the ship's mission.
Yeah. They land on this really inhospitable planet, Alioth, and there are these cloaked figures all around them, and one of them has this contact button on their hood.
And Helva accidentally activates it.
It's a wide wave, and it just overwhelms her. All this chaotic sensory input.
It's like a sensory overload.
Yeah.
And then they're in this crowd, this chanting crowd, and they're witnessing this ritual surrounding the death of someone named Saber. And Helva, she feels this despair, like she can't do anything to help.
Right. And then there's this sound, this eerie sound that cuts through everything. It's another ship, 732, and it's broadcasting this distorted message.
And it's a rogue ship, a ship that's been traumatized and wants to die.
It's really disturbing,
Yeah.
And it raises all these questions about sentience and suffering in these artificial beings.
Right. It's like, can a ship feel pain? Can it experience trauma?
And Kira, she steps in. She starts mimicking Sieber's voice, talking to the crowd, trying to calm things down. And then she physically restrains some of the followers who are getting violent.
She takes charge. She doesn't hesitate.
And Helva realizes that she's done something similar before to another ship, Thorn.
There's this sense of like an unspoken bond between the ships.
Yeah.
Like they look out for each other.
Right. And later, they hear news that's coming from Regulus base, and another ship's brawn just leaves abruptly.
Yeah. Doesn't even say goodbye.
And Helva, she checked in with Neckar Control, and they tell her this really strange thing.
A methane ammonia planet wants plays in exchange for energy technology.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
It's wild. And a trade authority ship takes off immediately. Helva starts thinking about, payoff, when she'll get more freedom, more autonomy. She's looking forward to getting a new brawn at Regulus base.
Right, a fresh start.
Yeah. But when she arrives, it's total chaos.
Yeah.
There are all these people waiting, and it's a theatrical troupe.
Bound for Beta Corvi.
Yeah. And they're rushing to get everyone on board. There's Solara Andra Colmer, who's, she's not exactly pleasant. And then there's Prane Listing, who has this medical condition.
And Andra is just awful to him.
Yeah. It's really uncomfortable. And Helva's analyzing everything,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what's going on with Prane.
Right, because Andra's making these insinuations about him being, mentally unstable.
Yeah. Using this term mind trap, which, is concerning.
Yeah, it's unsettling.
But Prane, he recovers. He's fine. And he asks Helva to read the nurse's speech from Romeo and Juliet.
He wants her to be earthy.
Yeah, and she does it, and she's really good.
Which, just shows again how versatile she is. She can go from calculating trajectories to performing Shakespeare. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And then Andra gets left behind at a stop.
Oh, no.
And she's furious.
Yeah, she throws a tantrum.
Yeah. And Helva, she just secures her in the lock, and they take off.
Decisive action.
Yeah. When they get to Regulus base, there are all these other brain ships there. It's like a convention.
And all the frequencies are jammed. It's clear that everyone's really interested in this Beta Corvi assignment.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And CENTCOM, they contact Helva directly, and they tell her that she's uniquely suited for this mission because it involves direct contact with the Corviki.
Right, and the Corviki have this incredible technology. They can transfer human personalities into their own bodies, into these envelopes.
And it requires this additional synapse connection for the ship.
It's really advanced stuff. And because of this, there are tons of Bronze who want to partner with Helva for this mission.
Yeah, everyone's vying for her attention. And then Kurla Stonezer arrives just out of the blue.
Adding to the drama.
Yeah. And they have this briefing about the Corviki and the transfer process. It's explained that the human personalities can only stay in those Corviki envelopes for a limited time.
Right, it's not permanent. And the surveyor captain, he seems really positive about it. He thinks it'll be a great experience for the actors.
They travel to Beta Corvi, and Helva detects this weird reading in her engine compartment. Something's not right.
Uh-oh.
But opening night, it's a huge success. The Corviki, they go wild.
Yeah.
They're just so enthralled by the performance.
Yeah, it's like they're feeding off the energy.
Yeah. But the actors, they're all disoriented afterward. They start talking in Corviki terms.
Except for Ansra.
Yeah, Ansra, she resists the whole thing.
She's not having it.
And Prene, he looks really haunted, like he's seen something disturbing. Aeschylus, he talks about how intense the Corviki audience was, how overwhelming it felt. And Helva, she realizes that this transfer, it's a lot more than just a simple performance. And she's hesitant to do it again.
Right, because she's starting to understand the potential risks, not just for the humans, but maybe for herself as well.
Yeah. But the understudies, they're eager to take their turn. And then during the second performance, Andra sabotages the whole thing.
She withholds energy, starts laughing.
Yes, it's bad. And Helva, she acts quickly. She floods the pilot's cabin with this sleepy gas to knock Ansra out.
Problem solved.
Yeah, the manager, he understands, and the performance continues. The Corviki, they emit this energy, and it's a success.
But it's clear that this whole experience has raised a lot of questions.
Yeah, at the debriefing, Helva gets bombarded with all these questions about the Corviki, about the humans who were transferred, about the dangers of the environment.
And Helva just wants to forget the whole thing.
Yeah. And then, out of nowhere, Neil Parolin shows up.
Her old brawn.
Yeah. He's in her ship, seeking refuge, and he's drunk. And he starts confessing all these things about the pressures of his job, about his feelings for Helva.
He even acknowledges her sentience,
Yeah. And he asks this really profound question. What is death?
Which is really heavy, especially in the context of Helva's existence.
Yeah. And then he just leaves, after briefly considering becoming her brawn again. Helva's kind of bitter about it, but she realizes he has to make his own choices.
Yeah, she can't force him to stay.
And then Broly calls. He's surprised at how she handled Parolin, and he's trying to manage the whole situation. Helva, she negotiates her conditions for going back to Beta Corvi.
She wants that CV drive.
Yeah. And she's thinking about Parolin, where he is, what he's doing. And from Base Tower, there's this sound of taps playing.
It's like a farewell.
Yeah. And in her mind, Helva says goodbye to Jen and hello to the possibility of a future with Neil. And then Neil comes back and he looks at her and there's this understanding between them.
Like they're on the same page.
Yeah. So in this deep dives into the ship Husang, we've seen this amazing concept of the BIOSHIP, this fusion of human consciousness and technology. And we've followed Helva's incredible journey through love, loss, and this ever-evolving sense of self.
It's a story that really pushes the boundaries of what it means to be alive, to connect with others, especially when those boundaries between biology and technology become blurred.
And it leaves us with this thought-provoking question. In a future where technology and biology are so intertwined, what will it mean to be human?
What new definitions of life and love will we create?
It's a question worth pondering.
Definitely.
This has been Teolumen Insights. If you enjoy this deep dive, please like and subscribe for more explorations of fascinating topics.